And the author of that bombshell new book joins me now, Michael Wolff. Welcome to Meet the Press.
Chuck, glad to be here.
All right, let me just start with this. You talk about fly on the wall access. Explain to me what that was like. Walk me through how you were a fly on the wall in the West Wing.
You know, I literally kind of knocked on the door and said, "Can I come in?" And they said, "Okay." And I came in, I sat on the couch, and that's the point of view that I've written this book from. I mean, the real intention of this book is to have readers sit with me on the couch and watch what's going on in the West Wing. I went into this with absolutely no agenda whatsoever. I have no particular politics when it comes to Donald Trump. This is really all about human nature.
Did you feel as if you were a blessed guest, meaning that the assumption was, yeah, you can talk to Michael Wolff. We've meaning the president. Was it the assumption was you were blessed? It was okay to talk to you?
I think it was. There was no official. I was certainly not brought in to be the.
You weren't invited to write this book.
The court chronicler.
Okay.
I was sort of invited. I mean, Donald Trump is sort of. Oh yeah. And I said to him, I said, listen, I'd like to do a book, and. Mm-hmm. And I remember, because I remember he seemed deflated, a book. Who cares about a book? And I said, no, I'd really like to do this. And then he named a couple of other authors who he knew, who he said, oh yeah, they'd like to do this too. And I said, but you know, is it okay? Yeah. So then I went around, and it was basically me saying, the president says this is he likes this idea. Mm-hmm. And then everyone would say, oh, okay, great, sit down, talk.
You said something to Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show. You said whatever it took to get this story. Would people feel as if you misled them about your intentions with this book?
Let me put it in a different way. I tried to be inobtrusive. So I tried not to have anyone quite notice me or not notice me above the level that they noticed the furniture. So my goal was to keep going until somebody said, go away.
Right, but in the initial premise of the book, were you overly flattering, or were you promising that this book would be more flattering than maybe than it turned out to be?
Well, I certainly was not more flattering than Donald Trump. Have you ever seen Donald Trump's flattery?
No.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the first time that I came in, it was like, oh my God, Michael Wolff. Unbelievable. Do you know this guy? Yeah. He's the best. I'm sure I returned a tip of the hat to to Donald Trump. But you know, yes, I said I didn't say anything to get me thrown out.
Okay. Fair enough. I want to ask, you were pretty tough on the coverage of Donald Trump early in 2017. Here's something you wrote in 2017 in January. You said, to the media, it is a given that Trump is largely out of control and that the people around him are struggling at all times to save him from himself and largely failing. This view persists despite Trump's victory, flattening almost every media assumption about his supposed haplessness and lack of strategy. And you thought that the media was too one-sided, or that was the impression you were giving. I have to say, when you read this book, you almost seem to reinforce the entire media narrative you were criticizing.
You know, I think that in the beginning, the media took this point of view without having had this experience. I went into this, and a decent part of the country went into this. His entire staff went into this thinking maybe this can work. Mm-hmm. It's different, even peculiar, but who knows what can happen here. And that was exactly my frame of reference. I would have been delighted to have written a contrarian account here. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump, this unexpected president is actually going to succeed. Okay, that's not the story. He is not going to succeed. This is worse than everybody thought.
I'm just curious, because it's a very tough book. You basically, you're sending a message here to anybody reading this book. Did you leave out good stuff because it got in the way of the narrative? Like, if people said positive things about him, not saying that you left it out because you thought it took away from the thesis of the book that you wanted to get out there?
If I left out anything, it's probably stuff that was even more damning.
It's that bad.
It's that bad. I mean, it's an extraordinary moment in time, and the last several days focused on my book, I think, are proof of this. This is what happened here. What's going on here? This is, I think, not an exaggeration and not unreasonable. And it's not unreasonable to say this is 25th Amendment kind of stuff. This is.
Did anybody say that in the West Wing to you?
All the time.
25th Amendment. They would bring up the 25th Amendment?
Yes, actually, they would say we're not sort of in the mid period. We're not at a 25th Amendment level yet. Or they would.
It's alarming.
This is alarming in every way. And then this went on. Okay, this is a little 25th Amendment. So 25th Amendment is a concept that is alive every day in the White House. There was an interesting thing that in all of this weird stuff that has gone on for the last number of days. An interesting thing that I especially noticed was yesterday, this morning, everything.
Mm-hmm. Understand, it's a whirlwind.
John Kelly was questioned about these wackadoo tweets,
right.
And he said, "Oh, I didn't see them." I'm going to just say, like hell, he didn't see them. And that's what goes on in the White House all the time. It's how to look away. It's how not to confront.
They're putting their head in the sand purposely?
Yes, absolutely. It's how to rationalize this and you can't confront it. Mm-hmm. You can't say, what this is a moment in time. This is a breakdown.
You imply that even his children treat him like a child at times. Donald Trump Jr. last night on Twitter totally disputed that account, said he would never speak about his father that way, nor does he even think of his father that way, that he only has admiration. What do you say?
Somebody said to me about the children, somebody who knows them well, and the phrase was, they are tolerant, but they have no illusions. And I think that's probably how it goes. He is their father, of course. Mm-hmm. Not only is he their father, he's their boss. Right. I mean, their whole lives are attached to him. But these are the people who have to deal with him every day. And these are the people who, on the top of everything else, he was not a very good father. He was absent, remote, having God knows who he was involved with at any particular moment in time. So this does not come as a shock to them.
They've come at you hard, pushing back against your book and your credibility. This is what the RNC put out. They even use your book jacket, sort of. They're calling you a liar and a phony. Here is Sarah Sanders from the podium on Thursday. I want to get you to react after.
The fact that there was a claim that the president didn't know who John Boehner was is pretty ridiculous. Ages of employees, which would be super easy to fact check, are wrong. Again, it is absolutely laughable to think that somebody like this president would run for office with the purpose of losing.
There are a lot of little errors. There's a lot of them. One page had 3 in 1. Some of them may be copy edits, small factual errors, but it adds up. Why shouldn't a reader be concerned about some of these
I think
mistakes?
a reader should read the book. The book speaks for itself. Do
you regret some of these errors in there? Do you wish a second? It feels as if you didn't get a copy edit.
I think I mixed up a Mike Berman and a Mark Berman. For that, I apologize. But the book speaks for itself. Read the book. See if you don't feel like you are with me on that couch in the White House, and see if you don't feel alarmed, as you say.
I want to ask you about your access to the president. How many times did you interview the president for this book, and when was the last time you talked to the president for this book?
I have spoken to the president, as I've said, I have spoken to the president for about 3 hours through the length of the campaign up until I finished the book. And that's what I'm going to say. I think the president has said, no, you didn't do this. That's wrong. And I don't want to go. I truly do not want to say.
Did you speak?
Is a liar.
Okay, but the White House. The White House says the last time that they have a record of you speaking to him was in February of 2017, which is not even through the first 100 days.
There was that moment. There were several other moments after that. And
did he not know that they were interviews?
He probably did not think of them as interviews.
Were they face to face?
Yes. Yes.
The times you saw him in the hallway?
Yes, absolutely. The point that they have made, which the literal point that I didn't speak to him in the Oval Office, and that is true. And one of the issues here was that they kept saying, I kept setting up these things, and then they kept saying, can we have the questions?
Okay.
And I thought, let's avoid that. The other point, and it's an elemental one, this book is not about my view of Donald Trump. It is about the view of all of the people closest to him.
Do you, from a journalist standpoint, did you violate off-the-record agreements?
I did not.
You don't believe you did?
I absolutely did not.
Let me ask you a final question about Steve Bannon. Why do you think he's disloyal to Trump? Why do you think he was so willing to dish the way he dished?
I think he was deeply concerned. I think he is deeply concerned. I think that he found himself in this White House with this opportunity, and I think Steve is a man of very clear beliefs and principles. Mm-hmm. And he looks. I think this was his. He looked at this as his moment. He made Donald Trump president, and that the president.
He believes this.
Not only does he believe this, it's absolutely true. Steve went into this campaign in the middle of August. Mm-hmm. It had fallen apart. It had imploded. It was over. Steve was the guy who said, you know, there is a case here. It's the economy, stupid. If we go through Florida, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, we can pull this off.
Did you at all think he was using you to settle scores with the kids?
I think, I'm sure he probably was. I think that he saw this White House as dysfunctional in large part, because it was being run by the president's family, people who had no experience, but also on any organizational level, that meant that they were the family, they could overrule everything. I mean, calamity.
One final question. You said something in a BBC interview that you thought this presidency was going to hit a wall. What did that mean? Hit a wall by 2020 or before then?
I think I don't know when the train is gonna finally hit the wall. I think the entire narrative of this presidency, I mean, and this candidacy and then presidency has been, it's going to hit a wall. And the thing that keeps everybody's attention absolutely riveted, this global attention, is that the train keeps going, but the wall is still there. I mean, one of the things I think about this book and why it's hit such a chord and become this cultural moment is it's given everybody this focused opportunity to say, "Holy crap."
Michael Wolff, I will leave it there. I imagine now you've got every author in America hoping they too will have a president threaten a lawsuit for them in order to help with book sales. Anyway,
thanks,
Mr. Wolff, thanks for coming.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.